So this was a proof that was in your homework last week. And I think I'm gonna just show it to you guys real quick. I don't believe there will be one that is as hard as this, but if you still have your homework from last week, this is number 29. It would have been Thursday's homework, okay? So we are, first of all, gonna write down the given, which is that AB, gentlemen, equals DC, and that is our given. Okay? Then, we have two different situations where we have a segment with 3 points. And remember, anytime you have that, you can break that segment up into parts. So we could say AB plus BC equals AC. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to say AB plus BC equals AC. And do you guys remember what that's called? When you take a segment and break it into parts? Postulate. Very good. Segment, addition, postulate. Okay. Then we can also do that with segment BD. So this segment BD has B, C, and D on it. So what we could say here is BC plus CD equals BD. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And it's the same thing. So if I wanted to, I could just do it under this same step. So I could say BC plus CD equals the whole thing, which is BD. Okay? Now, in this one, if you guys are looking at what it is that you're trying to prove is equal, we eventually want that this is equal to, well, I wrote this as CD. I probably should have written it as DC, so I'm going to switch this just so it's the same. Okay? So I should write this as DC. So what I eventually want to get, oh, no, I'm lying. What I eventually want to get is that this right here is equal to this, okay? To do that, what I would want is I'd want to get these two to look the same, because we talked last week a lot about if these two sides of your equation are the same, those two would be, and vice versa. So if I could get these two to look identical, that would mean these are equal. And notice right now, we have a BC in both of them. So that is already the same. What we want to do is get these two to be equal. And aren't they equal? Right? So what that means then is in one of them, I could take this DC, because it's AB, I can substitute it in for AB. So because DC equals AB, I can substitute it in there. So now what I could say, I'm going to put DC in here, plus BC, that doesn't change, equals AC. Okay? Now look at what I want to do here. Look at this and this. They're added together. They're the same two things added together. They are in different order, but that doesn't matter. Okay? So what we can say then is because these two are equal, that makes those two equal. Okay? Or another way to think of that is you could say because BD equals this, and AC also equals that same thing, you could take AC and put it in there. So what I could say then is that AC equals BD, and that would be, actually I didn't do either of these reasons. What do we do in both of those cases? Substitute it. So this is a little bit harder of a proof. Not sure that you would see this on the test, but I just kind of wanted to go over that one. Okay. So we're going to get away from proofs today, and then we're going to do new stuff all this week, Tuesday through Friday. And then next week we'll probably have 2 or 3 days to finish the chapter, and then we'll do a practice test and a test. So today what we're going to do is switch gears completely, and today is super important, but I don't think you'll find it to be hard. But what I teach you guys today, and probably not tomorrow, but on Thursday, is something that you use throughout the entire course. So it's super, super important. So what's going to happen today is you're going to have situations where you have 2 lines that are cut by a third line. And that third line is called a transversal. Okay? So you're going to have 2 lines. And in this situation, the 2 lines look parallel. They don't have to be, okay? But they do look parallel here. They don't have to be for what we're doing today. And then you're going to have a third line that cuts it. When that happens, you form 8 angles, okay? And we're going to learn that if we group these 4 together, and if we group these 4 together, okay, we're going to make 4 different kinds of angles that we use all the time, okay? So let's go to this page. These are not one of the 4. They're just going to help you understand the difference between exterior and interior here. So again, one thing to really keep in mind today is when you're doing these pairs, one's going to come from this upper group of 4, one's going to come from the bottom group of 4. Now, what they're saying here is exterior angles. Exterior means outside. So you're going to choose the angles that are outside of the 2 lines here. And 1, 2, 8, and 7, can you guys see how they're outside of these 2 lines? They're above and below them, okay? Then we're also going to talk about interior angles, okay? That's going to be these and these, okay? They're inside of these 2 lines, okay? Now is when we are going to talk about what are those 4 types, okay? The first one is called corresponding angles. And what I want you to write off to the side here, corresponding angles are in the same position. So when you think of corresponding, think of in the same position, okay? And when I go down here, what they mean by corresponding, again, like I was telling you guys, you always pick one from this group and one from this group, okay? And you're picking which one, let's see, which one from this group of 4 is in the same position as number 1. Do you guys get how 1 and 5 are in the same position? 1 is to the left of line P and above Q. Down here, 5 is to the left of line P and above line R. So those 2 are in the same position. Then once you find 1, it's easy to find the others, but 2 and 6 would also be in the same position. And then you could say 4 and 8 are, and then you could say that 3 and 7 are. Is that easy for you guys to see, the corresponding ones? Okay. Then when we go down, the next one that we're going to learn about is called alternate interior. And alternate, I want you to write off to the side, means on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, now when you look at these, again, remember you're picking from one from the top group of four, one from the bottom group of four, and we want the interior ones. So really what you're doing, you're picking one from up here and one from down there because we're choosing ones that are inside of those two lines. And what we just talked about is that when it's alternate interior, alternate we want on opposite sides of the transversal. This is my transversal. So if I want ones that are on opposite sides, do you guys get that I could say 4 and 6, right? They're both inside and they're on opposite sides of this transversal. And then I would have 3 and 5. Is that easy? So they're inside of these two lines and on opposite sides of this transversal, okay? Now there's also alternate exterior. And so when we do this, again, alternate means on opposite sides of the transversal. And if you wrote this, you don't really have to write it again, but on opposite sides of transversal. And how these are different is these are exterior. Okay, so if I look down here, I'm choosing one from up here and one from down there because those are my exterior ones, and I want them to be on opposite sides of P, which is our transversal. So do you get that 1 and 7 would be alternate exterior, and 2 and 8 would be alternate exterior, okay? Then if we get to our last kind, these are called consecutive interior. Now, consecutive is the opposite of what we just talked about alternate being. Consecutive means on the same side of the transversal. Okay, so if I go down to look at what this looks like, okay, again, these are, and I should have said these are interior again. They're consecutive interior. So you're gonna pick one from these two and one from these two, and they have to be on the same side of this transversal. So one of them would be 4 and 5, and then the other one would be 3 and 6. Do you guys think you get the difference between the four? Is that pretty easy? Okay. We are going to skip over this and go to this, okay? So we're gonna kind of have a short day today. We're gonna go over 2 pages, and then I think we stop for the day. If that's how it was when I looked earlier. Let me just look. Maybe not. Maybe I lied. I think we do. We'll see once we get there. Okay, so for these problems right here, because you guys are an advanced class, they make the drawings harder. You know, like if I was in my basic geometry class that I teach, we would just be looking at this. But you guys have these two lines cut by a transversal, these two lines cut by a transversal, and then also going the other way, we have these two lines cut by this transversal, and these two lines cut by that transversal, okay? Now, when you guys do this, we have to say two things about them. So first of all, they're asking us for 3 and 10. So you're gonna look at 3 and 10, and the first thing they're asking you is, what is the transversal? What that means is, what line do both of those angles lie along, okay? So the transversal is P, okay? Which line are both of them right next to, right along? Now we have to decide, are those corresponding? Are they alternate interior? Are they alternate exterior? Or are they consecutive interior? Does anyone know? Consecutive interior, right? So I abbreviate all the time. So look at how I abbreviate. For consecutive, I do CONS, and interior, I do INT. And that's how you can do that, okay? Now let's look at the next one. So the next one says 2 and 12. So here's 2, here's 12. What's the transversal? P again, right? Okay. Now, do you guys realize what those kind are? Alternate and exterior. Very good. So for alternate, we're just going to do ALT, and then exterior is going to be just EXT. Okay. Then if we look, we have our next one is 8 and 14. So here's 8, here's 14. Now really, do you guys get, you can completely ignore this. What is the line that both 8 and 14 lie along? Q. And can anyone tell what kind those are? Alternate interior is correct. They're inside and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Alternate interior. Okay. Now if we go to the next one, it says 6 and 16. So 6 is here, 16 is here. They both lie along Q. And what kind would those be? Yes, they're alternate because they're on opposite sides of the transversal, and they are exterior. So they're still along Q, and they're alternate, and then you can just do EXT for exterior. Okay, so now they're asking us for 2 and 6. This one's a little bit harder. So what you want to do here is kind of try to ignore this whole bottom and think of it as these are your 2 lines and this is your transversal. Okay, try to ignore the bottom. What line do they both lie along? L. And can you tell what kind those are? Corresponding. They're in the same position. And I'll give you guys a hint. You know how 2 is inside of the 2 lines and 6 is outside of the 2 lines? Usually if one's inside and one's outside, you want to think about, is it corresponding? Are they in the same position? And 2 is to the right of this line, so is 6. And 2 is above our transversal, and so is 6. Okay? So we're going to say L as well as corresponding, and I just do CORR for corresponding. Okay? Then if we look, we have 10 and 16. So here's 10, here's 16. Ignore this whole upper group. What line do they both lie along? M. And then what kind do those look like? alternate interior. Very good. Okay. Then the next one is 5 and 13. 5 and 13. So here's 5, here's 13. Try to ignore this whole group over here. What transversal do they lie along? Q. And can you tell which kind those are? Corresponding again. Notice one's inside, one's outside. So think corresponding, and they are in the same position. It's to the left and above, to the left and above. So I'm going to say Q and corresponding. Okay. Now, if I look at my next one, it's 11 and 16. So here's 11, here's 16. So try to ignore this whole top. What line do those two lie along? M. And can you tell what kind they are? They're both inside, so they're consecutive interior, right? Can you guys see that? They're both inside and they're both along this, so they're on the same side of the transversal and they're inside. So that is consecutive interior and they lie along M. Okay. One more, they're giving us 9 and 15. So if we look at 9 and 15, here's 9, here's 15. What's the transversal? M, and can you tell what kind? Alternate exterior, gentlemen. So M and alternate exterior. All right. So now let's go to this page, and this one's a little bit different, okay? So this one, so again, because we're advanced, they would normally just give you 2 lines cut by a transversal, but here they're giving us 3 lines cut by a transversal, okay? When you do this, they all have the same transversal, so we don't have to specify that. Okay, so the first one they're giving us is 1 and 7. So we can ignore this whole bottom line. Can you guys tell by looking what kind 1 and 7 are? Alternate exterior, okay? So remember when you do this, these 2 lines do not have to be parallel. And when they're not parallel, it even makes it a little bit harder to see. Okay, so the next one is 2 and 10. So here's 2, here's 10. Cover up the middle. Does that help? They are corresponding. I think corresponding is the one that's hardest to see. But if you try to cover this up, notice 2 is outside of the 2 lines and 10 is inside. So then think corresponding. And 2 is to the right and above, 10 is to the right and above. So this would just be CORR, okay? Then we have 8 and 9. So 8 is here, 9 is here. So we're not using this upper group at all. What kind are 8 and 9? Consecutive interior. They're on the same side of this line and they're inside. So this is going to be CONS interior. Okay. The next one we have is we have 3 and 12. So here's 3, here's 12. Ignore this. Okay, 3 and 12. They are corresponding again. So 3 is below and to the right, 12 is below and to the right. Okay, corresponding. Then if we go down, we have 4 and 10. So here's 4, here's 10, cover that up. Alternate interior, okay? 4 and 10, alternate interior. Then we have 6 and 11. So here's 6, here's 11. Ignore this whole top. What? Alternate exterior. Very good. Then if we look, we have 7 and 3. So here's 7, here's 3. What kind of those? Corresponding is correct. You'd cover those bottom ones up. So this is corresponding. Then we have 8 and 2. So here's 8, here's 2. Ignore the bottom. What kind are those? Alternate exterior. Very good. Then we have 4 and 11. 4 and 11 are corresponding. You're right. Here's 4. Whoops. Here's 4. Here's 11. Cover these up. They're corresponding. Okay. Do you guys think you get it? Everybody good? Okay. I think we stopped there. Let me just make sure. But I'm pretty sure we do. Guys, I might have lied to you. No, that's right. Okay, so I am going to give you guys a worksheet today. And on this worksheet is stuff for today and tomorrow. So you're gonna look, please look right now so you guys know. Look at kind of like here is the middle of the page. Here's up there. You're going to have certain questions to do today, certain questions to do tomorrow. And then you'll probably, well, it is 10 too, but just go on your math books quietly if you do get done early. But you're going to do just the day 1 ones, okay? Not today. The other one will be clapping.